Hello, welcome to this recording on stress and what you can do to help manage it. My name is Stephanie Jarrett. I'm a consultant clinical psychologist at Lewisham and Greenwich Trust. In my normal day job, I work with patients with chronic pain, but over the last few months, I've been involved much more in staff support. And some of that work I've been doing with my colleague here.
Hi, I'm Slee. I'm an advanced nurse practitioner in Interventional Radiology. I'm also a Wellness Plus champion in the Trust. I'm also a cognitive behavioural hypnotherapist and a mindfulness teacher, and I'm hoping to lead you into a little bit of mindfulness practice.
So that is what we're going to mainly focus on today in terms of mindfulness practice and other strategies to help you manage stress. We're going to skip through some of the science on stress, and there is another recording which goes into that in more detail, but we just want to start with a little bit of that to give you the understanding about where these coping strategies fit in and where mindfulness in particular can be really useful. Just to start off with the first slide though, to point out that there is lots of staff support around at the moment that you could hopefully access. There has always been the Employee Assistance Programme. That is a 24/7 confidential counselling service. It's a free telephone number. So you just need to mention that you work for this trust and you will be able to get through to them. There's also an NHS staff support line that was set up particularly in response to the pandemic. That is open from 7 to 11, 7 days a week. And again, that's free. You can phone or you can text them. Something we've always had in the trust is the chaplaincy team, and they've got some marvellous volunteers as well that help them. They offer a confidential listening ear, and they can be contacted both on the QEH and UHL sites with the numbers and also the email on screen. And then during the last few months, there aren't that many psychologists in the trust, but the two main teams have been offering staff support. So you've got the Macmillan Psychological Support Team, which is the MAPS team, and my team, which is the CALM team, although we've got a staff support email set up just for this. So you can contact either of those teams if you want to get any more further information and support. And our email I'll give you later on again, because if you want to get any of the resources that we talk about today, if you email the staff support email, we'll be able to give those to you.
Also, I'd like to just draw everybody's attention to the fact that the Trust has just started a programme of wellness champions. There are 150 in the Trust, and there are 30 Wellness Plus champions, which deal with slightly more in-depth things. But you should have at least one within your directorate. But we are not stuck to directorate, so if you want to contact any of us, feel free, and we deal with all sorts of different issues, or just to have a chat. We're here to help.
And Slee, what's the best way to contact people if they want to get hold of one of the Wellbeing champions?
If they go onto the intranet, there should be a link there, and shortly we're going to be publicising everybody's names into the directorate. We should be coming round. You also see us, we do wear different colour lanyards to differentiate us. So there's lots of different ways, but over the next few months you'll be hearing more about us.
Brilliant, thank you. Okay, so let's just start with a little bit of a quick skip through what is stress. You think you probably know what stress is. I feel stressed, I know what that is. But biologically, what stress is our body's automatic reaction to threat. Now, it can either be a direct threat, like this poor cave person's been chased by a tiger, or it can be perceived threat. So if that cave person saw a bush that looked like a tiger, it wasn't really a tiger, but it looked like one, the brain would perceive that still as a threat, and the reaction is always automatically the same. And it is an instant reaction. It's not when you choose, it just kicks in immediately because it's there to protect you. It's there, you don't want your brain to be busy working out, is this a tiger or is this a lion? No, you just want the body to react, to protect you. It reacts very physiologically. So if we look at the next slide, the brain sends out signals which stimulate the release of certain hormones. So you'll get things like adrenaline or cortisol. So you've got adrenal glands sitting on the kidney there. And it changes things throughout the entire body. It's a very complex series of links. But again, it's not a chosen reaction. It's an instantaneous reaction. And it really gears our body up for fight, flight, or freeze. So that cave person would be either wanting to fight that tiger, probably not the best idea. Run away from the tiger, which I think the picture showed him doing, or freeze. There are some situations where if we freeze, the tiger might not notice we're there and it might sort of just walk straight on by. So these real physical things are to gear us up to protect ourselves with fight, flight or freeze, and it can create a whole series of physical changes in our bodies. This isn't even a complete list. There are more than this. These are some of the most common ones. So for example, you might know that, you know, your heart will start racing really fast, because obviously if I'm going to fight something or run away, I need to have my heart rate up. I need to be pumping blood around to my big muscles. I need to breathe more quickly to get oxygen in so that actually there's energy for my muscles to use. I don't need my tummy to be digesting my food, so you'll get movement away of blood from your tummy, and that can make us feel like butterfly feeling. It makes us feel a bit sick. Actually, breathing really fast can make us feel quite sick. You get tension, you get shakiness. Your mind can go completely blank, or you can find that your thoughts race so much you don't know what's going on. You get headaches, pain. All of these things are a direct result of our body gearing itself up for fight, flight, or freeze. And if a tiger were actually walking around the corner about to attack you, you wouldn't notice you had butterflies in your tummy. You wouldn't notice that your heart rate had gone up. You'd be so busy focusing on the tiger. Trouble is that nowadays, the things that stress us, the demands on us, so on the side of the balance there, you've got exams, you've got responsibilities, all sorts of things like that. These aren't things that we can fight. They aren't things that we can run away from. They aren't things that if we freeze, it makes it better. So our modern day demands, it might be, you know, something happening at work, or it might be that the supermarket hasn't got what we need. Now, all of these things really stress us, and our body will instantly react with that physiological response. So we'll instantly get those sorts of unpleasant symptoms, but actually then they become stressful on their own. And the other difficulty is that nowadays, the things that we normally do to cope, so running away, don't work, and freezing and fighting it don't work. But the things we would normally do, which might be, I don't know, go and have a fun night out with our friends, or it might be go and join an exercise class, those sort of things aren't easily available to us. Or it might be that you're so busy that you've got all the stuff going on at work, and then you've got a difficult commute, and you've got stuff at home, just don't have time for things. So actually, we're a bit light on things that we can use to cope. Now, this balance, you see, when it's in balance, that's when we feel okay. That's what balance is all about, isn't it? Feeling okay. It is possible for the balance to be skewed whereby there's very little stress, and everything you've got on your plate is well within your capabilities. I mean, I'm sure you can't remember the time that happened, because it seems like it's been the opposite way for a long time. But if things are easy and we can easily cope, then we're a bit bored. It's a bit dull. Not happened like that for a long time. When there's lots of demands on us, and when the things we'd normally do to cope just aren't available, we tip the other way, and that's when we really tip into stress. So what Slee and I are going to be talking to you about is there any way when we can just maybe see if we can reduce the demands, reduce the stress on us, and add to our coping side? So I'm going to talk a little bit about the stress side, and then Slee's going to go into much more detail on the coping side.
Definitely finding sometimes it's really difficult to actually alter those stresses coming in. And so it's all about trying to increase your coping skills, or increase those things that will make those stresses feel better. So it's not getting necessarily rid of the stresses, because quite a lot of the time it's impossible. They just come. But it's all about how we manage that.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And when we think about stresses, we can think about them in two ways. Those stresses that are within our circle of concern, that big outer circle, or those that were actually within our control. So the things that might stress us that we're concerned about, but we can't do a huge amount about, might be, for example, our family. We might worry about them getting sick, or we might worry about them being sort of a long way away. We might worry about our friends in the same way. We might worry about our colleagues, or some of our colleagues might be a source of stress because they're stressed and we're worried about their stress. So we take that on board. Probably most of us are worried about the virus and the pandemic, and that's caused such widespread problems for health and the economy, and that's going to be a huge source of stress. And then we might worry about people in other countries. So we may have family in other countries, or we may just have concerns about things we're hearing on the news. But those sit very firmly in our circle of concern. There's not a huge amount that we can do about other people in other countries. We might really wish to, but we're a bit stuck. We might want to help our colleagues, but some of the things we might want to help them with are things that we can't, changes we can't make, it's changes they may need to make. We can't directly change the virus. All of these things are really stressful, but the fact that we don't have much control over them actually is a further stress, and it can make us feel really, really, really overwhelmed. If we're trying to direct our attention, our energy on things that we can't actually change, it can be really, really difficult and depressing. Now, unfortunately, the circle of concern is as big as our planet, really. It's huge at the moment. So we are going to feel overwhelmed. I think that a big phrase, actually, it's been through this entire pandemic, it's okay to not feel okay, because the situation is not okay. And it is going to make all of us feel bad at some point or another, in some way or another. And sadly, that's a fact. But within that, there's only a much, much smaller circle of control. And in that circle is just ourselves. That's the one thing over which we have some direct control. But actually, as I mentioned earlier, stress happens within ourselves and we don't have direct control over that. That is automatic. But our actions, things that we choose to do, we do have some control over. So I can choose to wave at you. I can choose to put my hand down. There are some actions which are a bit of a knee-jerk reaction. For any of you that test people's reflexes, there are some things which we know are automatic as well. But in general, if we can create a little bit of space, a little bit of thought, then we can choose an action. And some of the things... Also,
a lot of our actions are actually habitual. We don't even think about them.
Yeah.
They just arrive. It is a knee-jerk reaction. And we do them out of habit, not necessarily out of thought or consideration.
Absolutely. And particularly the things that Slee's going to talk to you about is about how to create new habits so that things aren't quite so knee-jerk. But the other thing that we can really make a difference to is our attention, where we actually put our attention. So, for example, somebody just popped in the door and I could turn my attention to them. Or I can keep my attention on what we're doing here. Now, again, it's easy to say, it can be difficult to do because our attention is automatically grabbed by the difficult stuff, the negative stuff. We've got like an inner meerkat that's always on the lookout for danger. And that's, again, automatic. But when we notice it's gone there, it's about, can we do something to bring it back? And again, Slee's going to be giving you much more information about how you do that. But at the moment as well, sometimes our circle of control can shrink even smaller. We're just bombarded with stuff demanding our attention. We're bombarded with difficulties. We don't have time. And sometimes the only thing over which we have direct control can be our breathing. Now, I know that's a difficult thing to talk about in the face of this pandemic at the moment, but actually our breath and focusing on our breathing is a really helpful tool that can be employed anywhere, because we always take our breathing with us. Wherever we are, that's where our breath is. And Slee is now going to give you some information about how you can use that focus a lot more helpfully.
So why do we concentrate on our breath? Well, as the slide says, it helps us switch back into thrive state, into calm, peaceful state, away from that fight and flight or freeze state. It brings our focus back to the present moment. If we're thinking about our breath and concentrating on our breath, we are not thinking about other things around us. We are concentrating in the moment. It increases our ability to focus and to think clearly. It kicks our brain back into thinking. When we're in fight flight, parts of our brain shut down. They don't work so well. And our problem solving gets shut down, taking us back away from fight flight enables the brain to switch back on and get us focusing and thinking clearly. It grounds and anchors us. It helps us bring our attention back to the present, away from riding on what we call the thought bus. The thought bus, we jump on a thought and it carries us down the road. And it often carries us into another thought, and then onto another thought, and another thought. And then all of a sudden we realize we have been carried well away from where we were going. We were riding on the thought bus. So what do we do about breathing? Well, it's just as simple as feeling the breath, taking a breath, considering the breath. There are lots of different breathing exercises out there to stop a stressful reaction that you can go to. All those websites Stephanie put up, she'll be putting up, they'll all show you different places to go to access lots of different exercises and resources to give you those breathing exercises. But really all it is taking a moment to settle, to think, and to feel the breath. Feel your breath go in and out. When we're in fight flight, remember what we do is we breathe from up here. Our breath gets very shallow and very quick. What we want to do is the opposite. We want to take some deep breaths to slow it down. Doing that triggers away from that fight flight. It triggers the brain to move you back into thrive state. So just take, even if it's 20 seconds, 10 breaths, just that time to anchor and bring ourselves back into the present moment, away from whatever is taking you away from that. I'm now going to do something called the 3-minute breathing space. And it's all about bringing us out of our heads, out of our thoughts, and back into our body, and actually into the here and now, feeling what's around you, feeling your body, and thinking about the breath. So, if you can just settle and sitting up, feet flat on the floor, and hands just loose in your lap. You can, if you're in a space where you can do it, you can lie down. Just make yourself comfortable, be somewhere where you're not going to be disturbed, and also you're nice and warm. And we're going to look within ourselves now with mindfulness and calmness. If you feel comfortable, close your eyes and allow your body to just become still. Take the first step of becoming aware of what's going on with you right now. How are you feeling? What are your thoughts? Where you are in the room. Notice that feeling at this moment. Notice what you're feeling both physically and emotionally. What are you noticing about your body and how your posture feels? Do you have any feelings of discomfort? Or do you feel particularly comfortable? And if so, why? Be curious about what thoughts you are aware of. What's going through your mind at this moment? Can you place a little distance between you and any thoughts you have? Can you notice that the thoughts are just mental events? Try from some distance, observing them, non-judgmentally and in a detached way, rather than allowing yourself to be caught up in them. Just noting them as they arrive. Now narrowing your attention to inside yourself. and into noticing your own breath, onto your breathing, focusing your attention down to your breathing and the gentle movements, feeling the breath as it moves into your body, feeling the rise and fall of your rib cage and your abdomen rising and falling as the breath travels in and out of your body. Your tummy rising and then falling back to the spine as you take a breath out. You're not trying to change your breathing in any way. You're just simply being aware of it. The feelings associated with it. As you breathe in and out. Of course, it's quite natural for your attention to wander away from breathing. If this happens, just notice where your attention has gone. Just acknowledge the thought, but then gently lead your thinking back onto your breath, anchoring yourself, anchoring your attention onto your breath as it breathing in and breathing out. Feeling of the breath expanding your chest and your abdomen as you breathe in, and the fall of your chest and your abdomen as you exhale. Allowing your breath to just be. Now allow your conscious awareness to expand out again from your breathing and from your abdomen into your whole body. Try and notice your toes and your fingers and your head. If you can, notice the feeling of breathing and see if you can feel it travel throughout the whole body, right the way down to your toes. See if you can become aware of the sense of wholeness, of completeness in yourself. Fully accepting yourself. Non-striving. Just being. It's okay to be who you are at this very moment. Gradually bringing your awareness back to the space that surrounds you. Feeling yourself within that space. Bringing your awareness back. When you're ready, gently open your eyes and have a stretch.
That was lovely.
It's nice to think also about how that feels. Did you find it difficult while you were doing it? Quite often we have that monkey mind where it's chattering in the background. Could you switch it off? Was it easy to switch off? Was it difficult? Some days it would be very easy to switch off. Other days it will be much harder. You don't always get it right. It doesn't always stay the same. So it's good to practice that idea of taking your awareness to start with and then narrowing it down to your breath, and then taking your awareness out again to your surroundings. So, why is it we think mindfulness helps? Well, it does. We know it helps. Becoming more mindful gives us the ability to see what's going on with our thoughts and without getting carried away with them. As I've said, we often get carried away with them on that thought bus. It gives us the capacity to feel sensations and emotions, even painful ones, without those feelings and emotions controlling us. Again, we quite often get swept along with emotion. Being mindful makes us aware of experiences and thoughts and lets us observe them with self-compassion and without judgment. It's important to view yourself with self-compassion and also non-judgmentally. We're very often prone to quite harsh self-judgment and negative assessments of ourselves. We sometimes have a little imp on our shoulders maybe, that is talking negative thoughts and thoughts to ourselves. Gives us attention to the present moment, which is really important. If we're in the present moment, we are not worrying about what has happened in the past or what is going to happen in the future. The present moment means being here and now, doing the things in the moment. And ourselves, we think of ourselves as an external observer of an internal experiences. Distancing your thoughts like that helps us build flexibility and resilience to stresses. Having awareness of yourself observing the moment helps us be aware of the connection between actions and our personal values. So all those things help with stress, help with negative emotions, and maybe negative thought patterns. So which road do we take? Do we try and take a mindful road, or do we continue along the mindless road? The benefits, as I've said, of mindfulness and meditation has been researched extensively over the last 10 years, and evidence shows it can change how the brain processes information. It changes us over time. It helps manage the effects of stress, depression, and anxiety. It also, we know, it helps combat with sleep disturbances. It can help you sleep better. Those who practice meditation have been shown to be happier and calmer than those that don't practice it. And you do have to practice it. It's not something that comes easily. And it doesn't just mean meditation. Mindfulness can come in lots of shapes and forms. It can mean going out and taking a walk in nature, walking the dog, listening to music, absorbing yourself into art, whether you're looking, doing, or listening to poetry, writing poems. Everybody's different. Everybody will find a different way to be mindful. There are mindfulness exercises and mindfulness meditations that will also help and will lead you towards that direction. So try those too. We know mindfulness reduces the levels of cortisol, the stress hormone within the body. We know that too much cortisol for too long, too much stress can cause physical damage to our body. So we need to be thinking about how we can reduce that and how we can help stop that process. It also can help manage chronic pain. It doesn't stop the pain, but it helps people cope with pain, how they think about pain, and how they use the mindfulness to take away some of the sharpness, if you like, of the pain.
I think that's really important. I mean, obviously I work with patients with chronic pain, but I think what you're talking about there, Slee, is so important. When people think about mindfulness and meditation, they often think of it as being, you know, you've got to sit in a dark room with your legs crossed and be all zen. And what's so lovely in what you're saying there is it's not, it is about that if you want to, but it's about so many other things. It's being whatever you're doing, being present, being absorbed and fully in it, whatever it is that suits you as an individual. We can be mindful. The picture you showed before, the people going for a walk, the one with their head full of all the worries and thoughts, and the other one which could just see the view in front of them. And that is what mindfulness is about, isn't it? About being present in the moment and absorbing that.
If on the mindless, it's having your brain filled with lots of different things all going on at once. And being mindful, just concentrating on the one thing at the time. And it's being, we say it's getting caught up in your flow. And a flow state is when you're totally absorbed in something, when you're passionate about something and doing something and you're totally absorbed. And everything can be going on around you, but you don't notice that. You are totally absorbed. That's part of being mindful. And mindfulness practice, like a formal mindfulness practice, will help you get into that flow state. If you don't find it easy to get into it with music or walking, there's different ways to it. There are other things that we have. We have an exercise on cognitive diffusion. And really that's to do with noticing negative and unhelpful thought patterns and thoughts. And it's a way how we can help and overcome those negative thought patterns. How we think about our thoughts is really important. Our thoughts, this diagram shows a thought, I am stupid. And how we think about that, just that simple phrase, I am stupid, will change how we feel about it. So in the first one, I am stupid, if I believe those words, it results in emotional reaction and I feel bad. I just feel bad about myself. If we question that, I am stupid, well, am I stupid? I don't know. It's probably better than believing them, but you still feel bad. You still don't really know, and it's not nice. But if you notice that thought, I'm stupid, notice I'm having a thought of, oh, I'm stupid. But if you can disconnect yourself from the feeling behind that, you can diffuse the emotion that's connected with those words. And you can laugh maybe and think, yeah, I did that. How stupid am I? And move on and not get hooked in with that emotional and those negative feelings surrounding those words. So that's what cognitive diffusion is about. It's about how we react to our thoughts that's really important. We have a really nice exercise called Leaves on a Stream that will be available that you can listen to, and it takes you through an exercise where it teaches you how to distance yourself from your thoughts. So if you're a person who gets very much into a stream of thought and you can't get off, it teaches you how to distance yourself and let those thoughts drift away. So please try and access that. It's a really powerful one. It's not an exercise that you necessarily are really good at right away. It does take practice to become proficient about separating your thoughts and emotions. So please practice.
And so in order to help you practice, Slee has recorded this and we're hoping to put it up on the intranet, but if not, we will also, if you email the staff support email, we should be able to send you a link and you can maybe download it, and then you can access it, you know, whenever you most need it.
Definitely.
Okay, so there's some strategies, some ideas, some things you can try. But what we want you to really think about is how to look after your mental health on a daily basis. And we're looking at it in terms of a traffic light system. So if you notice the sort of sad or red traffic light at the top, that's about noticing your triggers, the things that you perhaps know already or you begin to notice will always trigger you off, will always make you feel stressed and unhappy and difficult. And they can come in all sorts of shapes and sizes. It might be things outside of you, it might be the news you hear, it might be something that happens at work or something that somebody says to you, or they might be internal, so it might be these thoughts that Slee was mentioning, or it might be something physical. You wake up in the morning and you feel really tired or you feel unwell. Any of these things might be triggers. If you can spot them, if you can see that red light there, then you know that you need to put your emergency brake on, you need to do something about it. Now, some of them you might be able to avoid, which is great. You know, if I was going to see a pile of dog poo on the road, I would try and avoid it so I didn't step on it and cause myself lots of stress. But there's some triggers that we just can't avoid. They're part and parcel of life. You know, some of the demands at work, they're just part of work, can be stressful. And sometimes avoidance isn't helpful. So really just trying to work out for yourself, is this something that would be helpful for me to avoid? Or actually by avoiding them, do I really narrow my life down and make things difficult? And if it isn't possible to avoid them, then actually that's when you begin to put into place some of the other coping strategies. So that's when you look at, can I change the way I think about this, or can I get some distance from the thoughts, or can I find some things, can I get in touch with my breath or really calm myself down? So that's really putting your emergency brake on. That's what's really lovely about a breath, is even in the worst moment, just like Slee mentioned, you can spend 20-30 seconds. If you take a few deep breaths, neurologically, you'll be turning down your stress center and you'll be turning up the more sort of pleasant hormones, your endorphins, your enkephalins, that sort of thing. So really noticing the things that will trigger you and either avoiding them or finding ways where you can deal with them in the moment. Then there's our amber light. There are warning signs. I'll bet, you know, you're just checking out, am I not feeling so great here? And actually, if you do something about it then you don't have to put that emergency brake on with the red light. You can actually ease yourself in and cope with it. There might be things like, you know, your sleep is being problematic, or you begin to isolate yourself, or you just notice that tension, those physical symptoms coming up in your body. And again, the response to that would be, what do I need to do? Just like if you're coming up to an amber light at the, you know, you're driving, you automatically, because you're so used to it, you automatically sort of change gear or check your mirrors, slow down. And it's lovely what Slee was saying earlier on, that we get into bad habits, and thoughts can often be bad habits. But by doing some of these things, we can retrain ourselves into new habits. I bet when you started driving, you probably had to think, oh, amber light, oh God, that's going to go red. Or what do I need to do? I need to, you know, mirror signal maneuver, all that sort of stuff. Whereas the more you do it, the more it becomes a good automatic habit. So you need to do the noticing first. You need to put into place the good responses first. And then once you've done them a few times, it just gets a bit easier.
It's quite often nice to check in with our bodies. Our bodies hold stress and we hold tension. So even getting into a habit of just maybe after a day at work, just checking in with our bodies. Am I holding stress anywhere? Quite often people hold stress in their shoulders. A lot of people hold stress in their jaws, they're tight. Learning to check in with our bodies and feeling our stressful places, and maybe trying to relax, make a conscious effort to relax those places will help. But just checking in with yourself will highlight if you're getting to a stage, have I got warning signs? Am I always feeling like I'm hunched up and tight? Or do sometimes in the day I'm feeling all nice and relaxed and light?
Yeah.
Knowing our bodies is really important because they are a real warning sign.
Absolutely. And so you said, checking at the end of the day. So maybe when you're going from work to home, that might be a good little time to check and sort of let go. But even throughout the day, so I must admit, a little self-disclosure here, throughout the day, I do notice that my shoulders have crept up and I have to say, come on, Nana, down and open. So just to soften, because there are little things that creep up during the day and they will begin to show in our bodies. But
we all know the time when you're maybe at work and someone who perhaps is quite difficult comes towards you or enters your circle. You can feel how you react really quickly before anything comes into your head or you say anything. Your body quite often reacts. So it's getting to know yourself.
Absolutely.
And also knowing how to release that.
Which does get easier with practice, doesn't it? Definitely.
Definitely.
And getting to know yourself, as Slee said, but also getting to look after yourself. So the green light there, the green light is us on go. This is what helps keep you going. It's your general self-care. So anything that works for you that helps you maintain a good mental well-being and also a good physical well-being. And there's often a huge overlap between the two. So exercising, taking the walk, but being mindful, like Slee mentioned earlier, so absorbing yourself in it, not having your head back in work or back in that argument at home, but really having your mind on that walk, noticing things around you, socializing with people, enjoying things. Nowadays it has to be on Zoom, it has to be on sort of camera like we're doing at the moment, but still it's a connection, or engaging with something that takes you into that flow state that Slee mentioned, that thing which really absorbs you, that even if there is a distraction, you can easily sort of not pay attention to that because you're absorbed and enjoying what you're doing. And this is the sort of stuff you need to be really getting into a habit of doing all the time, every day, a little bit. So you may not have time to go and do an hour's, exercise class down the gym, or may not be possible to go to a restaurant and have a nice meal with our friends, but we can send, a silly meme we've seen in an email to a friend, or we can go outside of our front door and actually just look and see what the sky is doing, or look and see if there's anything growing, or at the moment you can see the gorgeous autumn colours. So it can just be 5 minutes of doing something, little 5 minutes interspersed throughout the day. They will still have that good effect on your mental well-being and also your physical well-being. And it's no different to if you think about, going to the dentist, and you go to the dentist, you've got something wrong, they give you a filling. Okay, that's great, the filling's dealt with the problem, but you need to go home and you need to clean your teeth. And that stops problems from reoccurring. And you need to not just clean your teeth one day a week. It's 2 minutes in the morning and 2 minutes in the evening. And you don't need to be too vigorous or fierce. You need to be gentle and kind. And that's the sort of self-care that we'll be wanting to look at, not just for your teeth, but for your body, but also for your mental well-being as well.
Definitely. One thing I would say about being in your flow state, be very wary of our devices, our phones. Quite often, people get absorbed in their phone. And the trouble with the phone, it brings with it a lot of negativity. So you have to be quite careful of what you are absorbing in. So I would probably dissuade people from using the phone or their computers or to get into
too much, yeah.
State.
It's all about balance, isn't it? So sometimes there might be a little bit of that, but you don't want to be doing, it's actually not posturally very good for us to be sitting in front of a screen or sitting with our phone with our head down. So having it a little bit, but not too much, because you're right, Slee, the phone is often the source of bad news. And you see bad things, or you get that, that little tally that says you've got 50 emails to deal with. So yeah, really being
very
aware
of what is coming through your phone, and don't just sit blindly looking at social media and flicking through.
But sometimes the phone can be useful. So if we look at the resources,
yes, exactly.
So it can be a very mixed blessing, our phone, but there are some things that are on there that can be really useful. So what we've got here is just some icons from a range of apps and websites that you might want to access at certain times. Right in the middle there, you'll see one called NHS in Mind, which was actually set up by Slee and her colleague, and to embarrass her as much as I can, I think it's really good. It's really accessible. That's what I like about it, is that you go in and it's all there, and it's really simple. You just click on that. It's that breathing exercise, and it's a little description about each one, and you click on it and there it is. You don't have to sort of faff around and find things. They've got a really lovely one up there on sleep. So actually what you can do for that sort of thing is you can have it on your phone, but you can have your phone, you know, mine's got a cover, you can have your phone shut, just plug yourself in and listen to it. So that's a really nice one, sort of you're trying to get yourself off to sleep at night. If your brain is thinking about the day that was or the day that will be, and you want to bring yourself back into the present, bring your attention on really listening to the words that the person's saying and focusing and seeing if your actions can follow what they're saying. So I would strongly recommend NHS in Mind. The actual NHS website has got lots of resources, and the icons that are up there come from apps that they mention. They're all various ways of helping you deal with stress. It can be quite nice to have some of them as a little reminder. You don't even have to look at it. You can just get it to buzz or set you a reminder, because when we get stressed, as Slee mentioned earlier on, we can get out of our good problem solving, good thinking habits. So sometimes having a little of an external reminder to, oh, actually, yes, check in with my body, like Slee mentioned, check in where am I at, or have something where I can just sort of help myself calm down. So if you want to have a list of those resources, just email the email address at the bottom of the screen, and we will send those to you. And also the traffic light system, the mental health maintenance plan, there's some information on that as well, what we can send, and also those meditations the meditation that Slee just talked about, and she's going to talk about another one which we can also send you if you're interested. But I suppose the most important thing of all of this is you might think, oh, this is interesting, this is good, I hope you think it's interesting, but it's just words, just us on a screen talking, until you have an open mind and try putting those new ideas in. Okay, so what is it that we've mentioned that you thought, ooh, and follow up on it? Even if it's just, oh, I remember Sue saying, yeah, check in with my body maybe on the way home. I'm just going to see if I can let go of that tension. Even if it's just one small thing makes a difference. So do try and think about if there's anything that you've liked and put it into practice. So Slee's just going to mention one more thing you might be able to try.
I'm going to hopefully put up a meditation called the Mountain Meditation. It's a meditation by someone called John Kabat-Zinn, who's actually sort of the godfather of modern meditation. But basically, it's a meditation that encourages us to seek inner stability and peace, even in the face of unpredictable change, which obviously, and uncertainty that we are all experiencing at the moment. So if you imagine a mountain, it does change. It changes with the seasons. It changes with water when it rains. There's gullies come when the rain comes down, and it changes all the time. It's been there for thousands of years, but it is constantly changing. However, it still stays there, stands firm and strong. And that's what this meditation is all about. Now, when I say meditation, meditation is a very big word, and actually it just means sitting in the present moment and listening and thinking about the words that are being said at that moment. And I'd really strongly advise you to give it a go. This is a really nice meditation. It makes you feel strong and secure. And that's what we need, I think, in the face of all that we've faced in the last few months, and we don't know what we're going to face in the future. So please try it. It will come up on your screen, hopefully something like that, showing you a great and glorious mountain, and I will lead you through the meditation. Thank you for listening. Hope this has helped.
Yes, thank you for your attention, and do contact us if you want to have any resources, but thanks very much for your time. Bye-bye.